Told you I couldn't have had a better guest this week than my dear friend Mo Anato. She's been guiding new and experienced investors all along the proven path to owning a successful lifestyle asset by investing and creating the most unique interiors. And believe me when I tell you, the most unique interiors, and we're going to get into it, that makes owning a short-term rental stand out from the crowd and even earn greater returns on our owner's investment. I'm particularly ecstatic to have my guest on the show. She's the person who I like to call the theme queen, mostly because she recently had a special on HGTV, which is exactly what she did. She themed some of the coolest homes I've ever seen in my over 15 years of doing real estate in Central Florida, specifically working in the short-term vacation rental area. To call her a dreamer is an understatement because she can create a fantasy that she's describing to a client and bring it to reality in the most realistic way that glorifies any aesthetic in all forms, whether it's art, architecture, nature. She can produce real magic. Now, I know I really built her up over here, but believe me when I tell you, she's a real estate aficionado, part designer, conceptual creator. She's amazing to work with. And her unwavering persistence to actually make sure her vision is completed is what makes her great. Mo, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You know what makes shows like this amazing and easy to do is to have the energy and the ability to work and speak with really cool and creative people like yourself that, you know, when I pass on a client over to you, I already know I don't have to worry about this. Client's going to be impressed. Work's going to come out great. And more importantly, you can understand what it is that they want to create and make sure it's fully executed. So before we get started, I'm going to ask you maybe a simple question. What inspired you to become an interior home designer and architect? And how did you get started in this field?
So I really, since I was little, I've always been into color, painting, moving my furniture around. So I think it was kind of an innate thing for me. Mm-hmm. I'm really passionate about it. So I feel very fortunate in the sense that I think I found my passion. I was able to hone in on it. And then, I would just say luck be had that I was put in the right place at the right time where somebody mentioned working in this market. And I started with my first vacation home, and the rest is history. Here I am now, and I just kind of fell right into it. And I've been doing it for almost 12 years now.
It feels like yesterday when you first got started, because I remember the first couple of projects you did, and I was blown away with what you were able to create. You were a pro from day one. Describe your design process and how do you actually approach a new project?
So I always start out with research. I meet with my clients. I kind of gauge, and I feel like I really have to tap into their headspace and what it is that they're envisioning. I always tell my clients at the end of the day, it's not really important what I like. It's more about you. I want you to like it, and it also has to market. So that's where I come and bring my experience. But at the end of the day, the clients have to love it, right? So I really try to tap into their headspace and almost read their minds, so to speak.
But, I think that's one of the greatest challenges when you're working with designers, specifically designers that are in their head or in their own space. And what I mean by that is they create things that sometimes look good, but they have no form or function to the intended purpose of what they're trying to do. And in the case of home interiors, they don't make money. They just cost the owner more than what it actually, the output of what its intended purpose is. And I love that you actually have that in mind. Now, talking about design, what are some of the latest design trends in the interior home design industry that you're noticing that are popular today?
Like right now, I see a lot of people going to more of that mid-century modern kind of, almost like a West Elm kind of vibe. you see a lot of like this slatted wood walls. You're seeing a lot more like kind of clean lines, but also it has that homey kind of farmy like feel, so it doesn't go too cold and sterile. Like we went through that phase where everybody was into that super ultra modern, very Miami-esque kind of vibe.
Super white, everything.
Yeah, everything's
sterile almost.
Yeah, white, grays, blues, maybe some black, and it was just very clean, like Fendi pillows and all sorts of craziness that just it kind of appears cold, you know, and everybody's kind of getting into this warmer feeling, something that's a little bit more inviting. We went through the farmhouse stage. Everybody knows the Joanna Gaines stage, which was I love her. I think she's absolutely brilliant, but it was probably my least favorite phase that everybody was going through. I was like, I cannot.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. I was like, come on, guys, we can do so much more than this. But yeah, we went through that phase, and you're starting to see that kind of like transition into this like a little bit more of that, you know, mid-century modern wood tones and like nice earthy feels and nice fabrics and texture.
I don't want to spill the beans because I'm really excited to share this part, but I'm going to hold off till a bit later. How do you work with clients to actually create a design that meets their needs and reflects their personal style?
Well, it depends. Everybody's got a totally different style, and everybody has a totally different want. So it's trying to find that like balance between the two parameters of like, okay, this is what you like. This is what is going to be practical. This is what is going to market well. And then just kind of intertwining that. So a lot of times I dive in deep. I read their minds. I pick their brains. I get all the information I need, and I say, okay, you send me the money now. And then we just have to do it, execute, and then present. If they're involved at certain points, I find that sometimes it can get a little, unless they're really good clients who are really well-versed in what renovations and home modifications really entail, it can get really, it can get squirrely for a minute. But at the end of the day, I have yet to, knock on wood, have a client that has been unhappy with the results. So
I'm going to do a shameless shout out right now. Two of my dearest friends and clients, John and Gianni, were here visiting with you last week. Mm-hmm. And you, in fact, actually just picked up on that as well, too, because you asked John, what are you into? And he's like, oh, I love F1 and I love racing cars and stuff like that. And, we're hopefully going to be doing a project with you pretty soon. And that's actually what we're going to be creating.
Right.
An F1 experience so that the kids can have, for example, a race car experience in the garage, sitting in potentially a F1 car or F2 car or whatever it is, and playing a racing simulator type of game.
Right.
And to listen to how you tapped into his personal taste and allowed his personality to become a part of this project really kind of blew me away, because I've never even walked into a home that has anything like that, let alone a vacation rental. So I'm sure if, a parent is sitting with a kid in their lap that probably loves cars, and what little boy doesn't love cars? For sure, you're going to want to go and say, Mom, we're renting that house. I want to stay in that house in Florida as well, too.
Exactly.
I want to talk about examples of projects that you're particularly proud of, because I've seen your portfolio of work, and no two homes are ever alike. I mean, vastly different. Ladies and gentlemen, this lady has created a Jungle Book theme room, a Game of Thrones type of room. And we're not talking about a plastered wallpaper on the wall. There's literally a dragon. Like, just tell us about it, because I can't even. When you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to actually see the pictures of the home as well, too. So go ahead, explain.
That one in specific is actually, we refer to it as our dragon's den, and it was a dragon cuddle couch that I have these moments, whether it's creativity or just like craziness, it's
a little bit of both.
Yeah, exactly. It's up to somebody else to decide. But I have these visions and I see things and I'm like, this is what I want to create. And I remember the moment. It was a very serendipitous kind of manifestation moment in my career. And we ended up finding the right person to build it. And we found a sculptor, and he came in and he sculpted out a dragon and made this couch. And we had pillows that look like eggs, like dragon eggs. And it's just, to this day, it still looks absolutely beautiful.
It's amazing. It looks like it should belong on the TV show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I put my heart into that one. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, you are the oracle when it comes to design of like crazy themes like this
Crazy
as
stuff,
well
right?
too. So how do you balance this function and aesthetics in your designs? Because when you're looking at it, you know, the furniture is functional. Like you can actually use it. It just doesn't look a certain way and it doesn't serve a purpose. A lot of your stuff really makes you feel like you're in that timepiece, in that era of whatever it is that you're trying to create.
So one thing that I learned in school is functionality and structure always supersede design. So even though I might have the craziest ideas, at the end of the day, I have to make sure that my fabricators are able to make something that's going to be practical, that's going to be useful. So we spent a lot of time, going through different design plans and layouts and really trying to configure how we can actually create these visions that I have and make them into functioning pieces of basically furniture / art. And I mean, it's just a lot of time. And at this point, we have the experience, so we already know. We have, different projects to look back on and go, okay, this didn't work so well. Let's try doing it this way. And, we get more and more progressive with each project, and we get a little bit more technical and a little bit more, we level up every time we do a house. And I feel like every house I do is my best work.
We were talking in the break. Tell me about that time when you had to think creatively to solve a design disaster. And what was that solution you came up with?
Well, I feel like this
I love
happens,
this story, by the way.
Well, hold on. Which one are you referring to? Because
Just tell them all.
There's so many of them. It happens all the time. Like, for instance, we're working on one now. I have these clamshell beds that I had fabricated. I am doing kind of like an under the sea sort of vibe. I've had them come in and put actual sand in one of the bedrooms with epoxy over it. And it's this whole, couple day process. You've got to let the epoxy sit and the sand goes on. But the point of this is I've had these clamshell beds made, and they're very large and they are very heavy. And the fabricator who made them did not take into account getting them into the room. So this is...
So what do? Cut out the side of the house?
Basically, yeah. We've taken the railing off of one of the sides of the house, and I've got guys with a ladder and making a pulley system. We've gotten one of the clamshells are actually in place and being painted currently. The other one's still sitting in the courtyard because I guess the fabricator, when he made the original... bed, he used much heavier materials. So when they went to lift it, they realized this one's twice as heavy as the other one. So hopefully that's what they're doing now while I'm not there. This is stuff I don't like to see because I'm like, don't drop it, don't break it. I get really stressed out in these moments, but it's all the time. There's always something.
There's a lot of viewers and a lot of listeners that are listening into the show. And oftentimes, many of them are actually considering a career in interior home design, architecture. What is a piece of advice that you can share with them?
I would say just know that it is not as glorified as it seems. What you see on television, I mean, yes, there's like
You mean you can't renovate a home in a commercial break?
Absolutely not. We could do a lot in 2 weeks, but a commercial break, no. And I think everybody has this impression that like I walk around in like business attire all day long, and my hair's blowing in the wind, and I always look great, and I have like a clipboard and my pen and notepad, and doing just having all these business meetings and things, and it's nothing like that at all. I mean, that's like you squeeze that stuff in between. Usually, I'm in leggings and sneakers, basically workout attire with a baseball cap on, running around, picking up materials or making sure everybody's doing what they need to be doing. So, there's a lot of fun parts, and there are those glorified moments, but it is not always like that.
Is lighting important in the home, or just like, have whatever, a couple of side lamps and
Absolutely.
chandeliers?
No, lighting is huge. I tell people you can have the best design in the world. If you do not light it properly, it will not showcase at all.
Or what are we talking about? Like just nice chandelier pieces, uplighting? What makes...
You need mood lighting. You need wall sconces. You need chandeliers. You need dimmers. You need the right light bulbs. You need the right temperature. You need the right color of bulb. There's just so many different elements depending on what kind of feeling you're trying to create in the space that you need to take into account. And this is another area where people don't realize, electrical it's expensive, and there's a reason, because it is so important to have that stuff done appropriately and correctly in a space, or you just lose it. You wasted all this money on a beautiful design. You can't even see it appropriately.
There you go. I'm going to hold off till the last segment. I've been sitting at the edge of the seat. Listeners, I want to tell you about this magnificent creation that Mo has created. There's a reason why we call her a theme queen. I have to go to break, but when we come back, I'm going to tell you about this work of art that she just created for her latest client, which has made my clients want to jump on board and want to work with her. Stay tuned. This one is a theme you're not going to want to miss. And we're back. This is going to be the most exciting segment of the show because I'm with my dear friend, the theme queen, Mo Anato. This lady creates magic in the projects that she works in when she's doing the interior renovations, when she's creating these incredibly imaginative themes for her clients throughout the home. We walked in to go visit her at one of her properties in Reunion, in the Davenport area, Kissimmee Davenport area. Let me tell you, I was blown away by what I saw. Yeah, you're going to go into a vacation rental home and it seems like everybody does the standard Minions, Star Wars, game rooms, and Spider-Man and Harry Potter. Look, they're all great. They're going to attract a lot of people to come to the house. But what's going to make you stand out from the crowd more than anybody else? And I know you're probably thinking, well, those are the kind of themes that people want. But sometimes it's always better to just separate yourself from the crowd and try something new. So we walk into this house, and this may be the only home in America, maybe even the world, and I'm not exaggerating, with a full-scale military helicopter inside. I'm not joking, guys. I walked through the door, and I looked up, and there was the tail end of this helicopter there. Now, I have a friend of mine who's in the aerospace business that felt the need to critique every single wrong terminology that I used. So I'm just going to dumb it down and I'm just going to say what I want to say. And if you guys know the right things to say, just leave it in a comment, send me a text. Let me go with this. So we go into the house and Mo comes out and looks like her, hair's up. She's got dust on some side of her face. She's got a hammer in one hand. She's telling the guys what to do. And she's like, oh, come on, guys. Let me show you, take you on a little tour of this house. So we walk in and I'm just blown away because I'm just looking around. Everything looks spectacular. And she goes, let me walk you into the garage. At this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Mo. Tell our audience what my guest saw.
So this one's a real doozy. This was 3 months in the making. When I say we, I somehow stumbled upon a retired Puma helicopter that was retired from Afghanistan and Iraq. And this helicopter, fully assembled, is about 59.5 to 61 foot long. And so Dawood actually walked into the garage and saw the fuselage, which I learned working on this. So the main body of the helicopter is actually on display and usable within the garage. I mean, obviously, it's not a functioning helicopter at this point, but what we've done is we've implemented flight simulators inside the body of the helicopter. So you walk up the stairway, either on the side or through the back, and you actually can, use these flight simulators.
I used them. I sucked at flying. Period. I crashed. But there was a helicopter in the garage, and that's all you need to know. That's the kind of creativity that this woman comes up with. What else was in the garage?
So with that, we actually found a 1930s SS-100 Jaguar body. It still had the engine and everything in it. And I explained to the previous owner what I was doing, the type of project, and he gave me a great deal on it. So I drove down to Deerfield Beach with one of my co-producers, and we picked it up and brought it back and had it repainted. And so now there's also a 1930s vintage car with racing simulators and then this helicopter body. And then we took the nose of the helicopter, which you saw as well, and put that upstairs in the boys' room and made that into bunk beds and a little area where they can watch television and they can still use the joysticks. It turns all the lights on in the helicopter. And yeah, this house is on a whole different level.
It's mind-blowing. I mean, you even have the stars on the ceiling. You have this kind of like rock effect going on in the vanity in the bathroom, in the room as well too. I mean, you're almost at a loss of words. You walk up the stairs and you have these incredible photographs of the Air Force. And what else did you put up? from the first floor going all the way up to the second floor? Because I was blown away when I saw it. And by the way, this is one of those terms that I definitely got wrong, so I'm not going to say it. You go.
It is called a blade.
A
It is
blade, okay.
actually a blade from the Puma helicopter. So this helicopter, again, it has a lot of history. I was very lucky to stumble upon it. And the moment I saw it, I knew I had to have it. I've never worked with aeronautical equipment in this capacity. I have never in my mind really ever thought, oh yeah, I'm going to put a helicopter or planes into a house. It was just one of those moments when I saw it, I thought, well, why wouldn't I? There was no limitation in my mind or thoughts like, oh, we can't do this. I thought, well, yeah, I got to have it. And I thought for the price point per square footage, I said, this is a good deal. Let's take it. Right. It's a $33 million helicopter, brand new. And so I was loaded up. So they bring it.
Load it up.
Yeah, load it up.
Load it up.
We'll take it
She
today.
says, yeah.
I'm not going to lie. There's probably one of the moments that I felt like probably the coolest that I'll ever feel in my life. I can say about an
Oh,
actual
no.
helicopter.
You are pretty cool. You don't need a $33 million helicopter to be cool, by the way.
Thank you. But that really made me feel cool because I could say I bought a helicopter and an airplane today. But we took the blade that came off of this helicopter. It's an original blade. It has all the markings, the numbers, everything. And we refinished it, repurposed it, and we used it on the landing, going from the landing to the ceiling. We had to cut about 3 foot of it off, but it's about 18 foot now from landing to ceiling. So it was one of those things where I could see, you could miss this point in the house of visual interest. And I thought this is just a great opportunity to showcase this beautiful piece of aeronautical equipment. What else can you do with this? And then we did the gallery wall with pictures of the guys and, some pictures that they have taken on their different deployments and some of their different, missions, and black and whited those and put them all up making it kind of like almost like a museum effect.
And it does really have a museum effect. But, I think the beauty about you telling the story that you're telling right now is that you've actually managed to reflect the personalities, the interests of the owners, and reflected it into their home. So not only does it become a haven for them, but it also becomes an interesting home, a creative home that one would want to come and stay at for a really unique experience that is far different than what a lot of the other offerings are in the market. Talking about that, and let's talk about your creativity here for a second. You actually turned let's call it dining room table, from a Stearman wing, which is a Boeing Model 75, a biplane, formerly used as a military training aircraft. And you turned it into a dining table.
So that, again, same place. I happen to stumble upon it. I see this wing, and it is completely deconstructed. I thought it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Those wings were originally made with spruce and mahogany wood. I've learned all of this going through the process, by the way. I didn't know any of this information before I started this project. But as you just read, they were military planes back in World War I. And so I go to this scrapyard, and this guy has these wings, and I find the one that's in the best condition. They've been sitting outside for many years. And I looked at it, and I knew right then, I said, I know what I got to do with this. I have to turn this into a table. And we spent many days cleaning, sanding, repairing, doing all, new stain, buffing out all the metal, and doing whatever we had to make it, bring it back to its glory, and having a welder come in and build a frame for it, putting glass over it. And now I look at it, I'm like, this is one of the most beautiful pieces. I feel very honored to have been able to work with that wing. And I'm kind of sad that I left it there because I think, I should have this for myself. But again, that's the part, it's the bittersweet part of what I do.
Now, here's the pressing question. I don't know if this is top secret, classified. I don't know if we're going to get in trouble for this or not, but I'm going to wing this one. Tell us about the theme that you created in the garage and the significance that it has to the owners of the home. So
these guys are all active service members. They're all in the Air Force. I can't say too much, but I think we all are aware of the balloon that got shot down just recently, a few months ago, right? And
a few weeks ago, actually.
It was a few weeks ago. Yeah, well, I've been living in a time warp of just working on projects. So sometimes I lose.
Seems like eons ago.
Yeah, I lose days and weeks sometimes. But during this project, one of the guys, his squadron, he's actually in the squadron that shot down the balloon. And so when we went into the garage, we said we have to do, a nod to that, and we decided to take their squadron's nickname is the Balloon Busters, and he had sent me an image of a patch, and I thought, this is a really cool part of American history that has taken place during the progression of this project, and we have to implement this and we have to showcase this somehow. So we did a huge mural, American flag. We did a nice pinup girl, modest pinup girl. Oranges for the state of Florida, but we threw that balloon buster patch right in the middle, in the center. So it's kind of like if you know about it and you're aware, but if not, then it just looks cool and it fits the vibe.
So Mo, you've been sharing a lot of great stories with us. I don't want to say too much, but I know we're going to be working on a lot of interesting projects that I'm going to be definitely sharing on the show, definitely sharing the footage on our YouTube channel and our social media platforms. If anybody wants to reach out to you to tap into your well of creativity, what are the best ways to get a hold of you?
The best way to reach out is to go to my website, which is MoEANATO.
That's moanato.com.
.com.
There you go. Book an appointment with her, get her to consult for you, and let her turn your home into a dream vacation rental that anybody is going to want to stay at, no matter where they are in the world. You're listening to Dawood Bedrosian. This is Real Sense Now. I'm happy to do the show. It's a delight to be able to converse and interview people like Mo that become a part of my professional real estate dream team, creating these beautiful homes and experiences for both our owners and our vacationers alike. If you have a question, if you want to reach out to me, all you have to do is visit my website, which is realsensenow.com, and visit me on any one of my social media platforms. That's LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook by just simply typing in my name, Dawood Bedrosian. That's DAWOOD BEDROSIAN. And of course, listen in to the show Saturdays from 11 to noon right here on Real Sense Now. Catch you next week.